Hello, my name is Anna White. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how to build a 4x8 work table with storage all by yourself. Before we get into the build, let's talk real quick about why I built this workbench. I wanted something large enough to hold just about any project that I could build. So really wanted a 4x8, and I wanted it 30 inches tall because I'm on the shorter side. Sometimes when I get a big project, gets cumbersome to reach over it. Of course, the height can be changed on this project, and I provide plan modifications for that. This work table is called a 4x8 work table because it uses 4x8 panels. The top panel, it is a particle board core with melamine on it. And I love using this for work table because the particle board doesn't have a grain, so it stays really flat and level. And the melamine helps projects slide really nice. It's double-sided, so you can flip it over and use the other side, and it's really inexpensive. I think I paid about $30 for it. And in this plan, you don't even have to cut it. There is some storage on this workbench. My intent is simply to store wood pieces. It's right across from my chop saw, so I can just store 48-inch lengths of wood underneath it. Really trying to be more efficient in my workspace and use every single piece of wood, so you can see keeping the little blocks available for me to use. It's on casters. You can easily move it out of the way, which if you have a smaller shop, that might be something you want to move out of the way, and it's easy to clean under. That was the big thing with me, is I wanted to be able to push it out of the way, clean under it. So the bottom is also a 4x8 sheet of plywood. The only cuts I made were to cut out these corners with a jigsaw. As I was designing this plan, I was thinking, what if somebody doesn't have a workbench to build their workbench on? How do I make it as easy to build as possible with minimal tools? So you don't have to rip any plywood or anything with this workbench. I used my chop saw and my cutting guide to make all the cuts, but you could cut with a circular saw, and the cuts are all outlined in the free plans. So the first thing to do, there's 6 legs, is to add the blocking, if you're adding the blocking to the bottom of the legs, and then to mark where the cross supports go on the legs. So now I'm going to take 2 legs and attach them to a cross support. If you noticed, I used the melamine sheet set up on top of a tabletop to build off of and just clamp to it. And then I just screwed on both sides. And this is one of the leg sets done. So the 2 outer legs are the same, and then the center leg is a little different. The cross support is centered. And then I took 8-foot 2x4s and attached it to all 6 of the legs. Now my garage floor was a little uneven, so later on I did have some struggles because those legs didn't get attached level. We'll get to that in a second. And then I attached the second one, and I'm centering the center leg. It is important to get the center leg exactly centered so that when you cut your plywood out, it all matches up perfectly. Before this project gets too heavy, I wanted to add the caster wheels, so just flipped it over, and these are actually some caster wheels that I've had around for a while, just reusing them, and attached them. I used screws with washers, and just flip that back over. Okay, so now for the plywood. So I'm using a sheet of 5/8 inch thick plywood, and then I just measured and marked out for the legs. I actually made the cutouts about 1/8 inch bigger, just so it wouldn't be super tight when I fit the plywood in, and then just cut it out with the jigsaw. And once that's all cut out, I can just set the full sheet of plywood on the bottom shelf. And I put the nicer side up, and it all just fit in there. And this actually helps square up the project quite a bit. I used 1.5 inch screws to screw everything down. I started in the center and then worked outward, and then made sure everything was matching with the plywood, because this is going to square the project up. And then the upper cross supports, as building this as a single person by myself, I just used a clamp to kind of hold it in place, and then attached them with 2.5 inch self-tapping screws, 2 screws per joint. All right, so I alluded a little bit to this earlier, but when I went to put these 8-foot long 2x4s in, they were coming up a little bit short. So what I ended up having to do is re-level up those legs. I had to remove a couple screws at the bottom, and then, kind of pull it in and adjust it. It would have really helped to have had a flat level floor to work with, but in the end, it took me an extra 10 minutes and it all worked out. And then just centering that center leg, getting it perfectly placed and attaching it in place. And then just repeating for the other side. I did have the same challenges with having to square up the legs on the other side, but in the end it all worked out, and we got it all squared up, and it's pretty amazing to be able to build this by myself. So I set the top on. I'm going to silicone it later. I may add a clamping system, and then I finished out the legs with some blocking just to make it look nice. I'm really excited about the plans for this one, and they're already up, so go check them out. There's a bunch of different customizations. So if you want a taller height, or you want to change the storage, or you want wheels, or you don't want wheels, there's lots of options for you. All right, the plans are live on my website. I left a link in the description, so click on over there and download the plans and get this built. And if you build it, please send us in a photo. We love seeing your photos. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in our next video.